Hi everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of the Raindrop Crafts fairy tutorial. So we're going to carry on today with our fairy, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to thread on some pink thread to make the top of the fairy's top and her little shorts. So in your kit you'll also have some pink thread if you've selected the pink fairy. If you selected the lilac one, then you'll have lilac here. So I'm just taking the thread apart, just need to find the end of the thread. So there we are. So there's the end of my thread, and as before with the body, I'm going to start putting glue just at the bottom of the body here and then work my way up. So I'm just going to pop that there. I always just like to kind of lay my thread in the glue just to hold it, and then I start wrapping it round. So I'll just keep wrapping now, so that's getting all the glue encased there, so that will hold the fairy, the thread all in place. So I'm just going to wrap up now, so just right up to the top. So as before, just try and do it as neat as you can. So if you're not happy with how it goes, just unthread it and you can start again. So this will form the top part of the dress. There we go, I'm just getting all caught up now. There we go, so just wrapping around, just pulling the thread up down a bit there. Right, so now I'm going to go up and over the shoulders. So that's working diagonally across there. There we go. And then I'm just at the back, I'm just going to hold it and then turn it over. So just start wrapping on the other side. So this will form the top part of her dress. There we go. I'm just going to go all the way back down now. So make sure this is as neat as possible, as I've said. There we go. I'm just going to wrap that all the way down. I'll just keep wrapping. There we go. And just go around this bottom bit. There's a little bit of glue there you can see that I've got, but don't worry about that because that'll all be covered up by the skirt. So I'm just going to put some little shorts on her now. So you'll be surprised at how many people look up a fairy skirt. When I was at the Handmade Fair recently, even a gentleman looked up one of my fairy skirts. I had to ask him what he thought he was doing. That was quite a surprise. Oh, I was just seeing how she was made, he said. So fairies always need their little shorts on, so don't forget this part, it's very important. So we'll just keep wrapping a little bit further. There we go. And then just back up. So I'm now just going to put some more glue just on the middle bit here. There we go. And I will wrap the thread into that. And that will hold that all in place. There we go. Right, I'm just going to cut that off. And that's our dress done. So dress and top part of our dress and her shorts. So that's all ready to go now. So the next thing we're going to do today is to do her hair. So we're going to put the fairy's hair in a plait. So the first thing we need to do is get it in a loop, and then we're going to cut this bottom part here. So just cut it at the bottom. Okay. So we've got our lovely fairy there. Now don't worry that you can see the wire, because we will be covering that up with a flower later. So what we do need to do is smooth all the hair out And before we start plaiting, we're going to put a bit of glue either side of the head and at the back of the head, just so that we can keep our hair in place and cover the part of the head up. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue this side. So you need to do this a little bit sparingly because you don't want the glue showing. So I'm just going to lay the hair over there, and I'm going to do the same the next side. So I'm going to lay that down there. There we go. And then obviously you can see the back at the moment. We don't want a bald bit of head. So what I am going to do is I'm going to put a bit of glue in the middle there. I'm just going to gently, very as neatly as I can, just pull the hair down, keeping it as neat as we can because we want it to look like real hair. There we go. I'm just going to put a tiny bit more in there. Sometimes when they get, just so there's a little bit of space, I like to just use my cocktail stick, because that way I can just get the glue exactly where I want it and you've got a little bit more control. So I'm just going to cover that up because we don't want any of the glue showing. Okay, there we go. So you can see where we're at with that now. So that's all looking nice. So what we're going to do now is put it in a little plait. So do you remember at the beginning of my first tutorial I cut off a few little strands, so I'm going to make use of those now. So I'm not going to use the one at the top, I'll wait and use that at the bottom. So let's get this sort of, I'll split it into 3 sections and then we'll do a plait. So make sure that you keep this bit all neat at the top. Once you've kind of plaited it, it will stay in place. So we're just going to make sure it's all nice and neat. That little strand looks like it needs to be there. If only I'd trained as a hairdresser, I'd probably be even better at fairy hair. But never mind. This is just a simple plait. So fairy hair can be a little bit fiddly, but there's always ways to cover bits up if it doesn't turn out straight, just as you want it, with pretty little flowers. That's what I call my happy accidents. So we always have happy accidents when we're crafting. So I'm just going to plait down the hair. So not much further to go. We're getting there now. So you will start to get some strands just a little bit shorter, so once you get to that point, that's time to stop, because we'll trim all these ends. And as I mentioned before, I did have a couple of spare bits of thread just so that I could use them to tie up the plait. So we'll put a little tie in there. I'm going to do this in a double knot. There we go. I'm going to trim that off. There we go. And now I'm going to trim this fairy hair because it's a little bit wild all at the bottom. So I'm just going to put that there. Put that onto the bin. I'll just trim this little bit now because it's the same length. There we go. So that's the fairy's hair. All done, all looking pretty. So we will be adding flowers and things like that to the hair later on. But the next thing we're going to do is prepare her skirt. So let me just put the fairy to one side. So in your kit you will have a skirt. So the first thing we need to do now to prepare the fairy skirt is to fold it into quarters, and we're just going to snip the top little bit of that skirt off. You then have a little hole. It's a little bit diamond shaped, but that's fine, that's not a problem. So then what you need to do is take one strand of the thread that you've got left from the fairy dress and pants and thread it onto a needle. So I've threaded the needle already, just so you don't have the pain of watching me try and thread a needle, because that can take me a while sometimes. So all we're going to do now is just do a few little running stitches around this circle. So you don't need to be good at sewing to do this. This is something that a child could do. It is really quite simple. So I like to leave quite a long tail at the end, because once we've got the skirt onto the fairy, we will need to pull these threads tight. So I'm just going to do a little running stitch all the way around. So these are big stitches, so it isn't like you've got to spend hours sewing. This is literally just a few little stitches around your fairy skirt. I'll just do a few more. There we go. There's one more. I'll just do another couple. There we go. And I always make sure that I've got the thread sticking out the bottom of the dress, my skirt here. So let's just put that down there now. Right, so I'm going to unthread my needle, put that to one side. So what you'll see now is that we've got two longer threads hanging there. So we're now going to thread the skirt up over the fairy. So push our legs together and just pull the skirt up. And what I then like to do is pull these threads tight, because what you'll see then is that just makes the fairy skirt fit on there really lovely. So tie that into a double knot. So I'll pull that a little bit hard. Break that. Hopefully that will stay in place. So what I am going to do is just put a little bit of glue just under her skirt there, just to make sure I know that's going to stay in place. There we go. So what you can see is that's kind of, you know, it's created a nice full skirt now. So the next thing to do is to add the fluffy trim around her waist. So this will cover up your little bit of sewing, so it doesn't matter if it's just not quite perfect. So I'm just going to trim a tiny bit off this marabou trim, just to, there we go, just to, so it's not too big. Now this fluffy trim does get fluff everywhere, it's a little bit messy. Now you could sew this if you haven't got a glue gun, you could put a couple of stitches, but I like to just use a glue gun for ease, that's easier for me. So I'm just going to put that in place. So you will just need to hold this for a minute, just because the trim is quite thick and you need it just to hold that in place. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that there for a minute just to get that to hold. So once you're happy with that, then you can put a bit the other side. Now I tend to put the other bit on with the cocktail stick. Oh, don't check it about, Lindsay. There we go. Just because at this point the glue is hot and you don't want to burn your fingers. So I'm just gonna, I use the cocktail stick just to kind of get the right, just to get it in place really, and then I can hold it without the glue coming out onto my fingers. So you do need to just manoeuvre it about just a little bit. So I'm just going to hold that for a few more seconds just so I know that the glue's dried and that trim won't be going anywhere. Okay, so you can see she's all starting to come together now. Right, if it's not quite held, that one's, I think that's okay. You can always add a little bit more glue. There we go, so we've got a skirt on, we've got the trim. So I'm going to just turn the page in my booklet and check the next thing I've done in order, just so I can do it along following the instructions on the book. Right, so the next thing to do is add the fairy wings. So in your kit you'll have a little bag with 2 sparkly wings in. So So take those out of the bag. Now we're going to add the wings. Okay, so what we're going to do here, so just move the hair out of the way, and we're going to put a bit of glue and then put the wings in place. So let's put some glue there. And again, I just like to use that cocktail stick just to hold it in place, because then you don't burn your hands when you've got the hot glue, when you've used the hot glue gun. So I'll try and get that in place there. There we go. And I'll put some on the other wing. There we go. And I'll just tuck that under the flat. Alright, so those two have stuck together, but because of all the fluffy trim, I'm just going to add another little bit of glue just underneath, just to really secure them now. That's it. So that's drying nicely now. There we go. So we've got our fairy wings in place. So she's really starting to come together. Right, so the next thing that we're going to do is sort out some flowers. Now I should have a bow in my kit, but I've obviously been rummaging around in here and taking it out. So let me just grab another bow. Oh, I had got it in my bag all the time, look. Right, there we go. So let's put the bow on the back of her dress now. So I'm just going to put some glue on the back of the bow, and that just goes over the trim, just to make that nice and neat. And then we're going to sort out these flowers. So in your kit you'll have some flowers for the fairy. So some will go in her hair, and some we're going to turn into a little bouquet that she's going to hold. So the ones for the bouquet, let's put them to one side, and let's just cut the ones for the hair now. So the ones that are going in the hair, we just need to trim these stalks off. So let's just trim those. We also need one to go on the back of the wings. So 4 of them need the stalks just taken off. There we go. So I'm just going to put some glue on the back of the flowers. So one's going to go on the back of the wings, so that just covers that little join up where you've attached the wings. And then I'm going to put some more glue. So I'm going to have some in her hair. Let's have a couple in the back of her hair. And we'll put one in the front. There we go. I'm getting a bit of fluff everywhere. That fluffy trim does get everywhere. One at the bottom of her plait. Now let's turn her over. So we're going to place another one. Got more glitter on her face now. Just here, and that will just cover up that little bit of wire where we've put the hair on. So let's put a little bit more glue on another flower. And pop that there. Oh, she's starting to look really pretty now, isn't she? Right, so that's that bit of it done. So the next thing to do is to get the cocktail stick that came in your kit. Look at my messy desk. Look, this is what happens when you make a fairy. Be prepared, you will make a mess. So let's get the cocktail stick out now. And to make it into a little bouquet, what we're going to do is we're going to wind these flowers around the cocktail stick, and then they'll have a lovely little curly stem. So all you do then is just pull the flower half of the cocktail stick. There we go, so I'm just going to do that 1, 2 and one more time. So just wrapping it round. There we go. Right, so I've now got 3 little flowers, so these are going to form my little bouquet for my fairy. So what I'm going to do is I'll put them together in a 3, to make sure they're all facing frontwards, and then I just twist those bits of wire together, just twist them round. There we go, and then we've got our little fairy bouquet. So we're going to add that to the fairy now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend her arms so that they are straight in front of her now. Okay, so make sure they're flat, so that's how her arms need to be. Okay, so you can see that's how they need to be. And then I'm going to put some glue and we're going to attach the flowers. So I'm putting the glue on the fairy's arms. So put quite a bit because you do need to hold these flowers in place. So let's just get them attached there. Let's just give that a minute. There we go. Right. So the last thing to do, we're nearly at the end of the tutorial now. Let's get little bits of glue off. Is in your bag you will have seen there's a little cotton bud, and this has got chalk on. So what we're going to do now, the little finishing touch, is to add some cheeks to the fairy, because all fairies need rosy cheeks in my opinion. So let's just add some on the other side. I'll just blow them off. There we go. So you can see she's now got really lovely rosy cheeks. So that's your fairy all finished. That's everything used in the kit, so you've probably got a few little bits of thread left. So your fairy has bendy legs, so you can either balance her and stand her up somewhere, or you can sit her down on a shelf and she'll look all pretty. So just have a play about with her and find somewhere nice to sit her. So I hope you've really enjoyed this tutorial and using your fairy kit. So if you want to buy a different coloured one to the pink, you can also buy a lilac fairy kit, and I'll have lots more exciting things coming to on my website, which you can find at raindropcrafts.co.uk, so go and check that out. I'll catch up with you all again soon. Bye!